I'm Cecil Cummins.
And I'm Dean Rowe.
To whom it may concern, Dean and I believe in the summer of 2014, as stated in the cover letter, that running a branch together as a team would be our best represented opportunity.
We believe that it would best represent the company and that the company would effectively benefit most from this decision. I'm just going to explain how it kind of came about. In my situation, I go to school far away and I also do not have a car. And so I've talked to John and Kate about the assistant manager opportunity and how much I look forward to at least working at John's side and how much I look forward to hopefully opening my own branch. But as time has gone on, I've found that it would be increasingly difficult for me to do a branch individually based on my situation at school, not being able to go to certain divisional preps, and also the situation with my car. And so this idea came about in which me and Cecil may be able to benefit the company most. And basically we came up with this proposal in the cover letter, and now we have various pros and cons from the company's perspective and from the strategy of the company. And so to whom this may concern, we'll be able to most effectively use this information.
Pretty much when Dean came up with this idea, it was almost without hesitation a yes. Throughout the company so far, when I've been working, it's almost while we've been a team, it's almost been an individual effort on my part, and it's almost been when I've been working, it's almost been about me. I've always been trying to help the team, but I never really thought of the big picture of making it a team effort. And so when Dean came with me the idea, it was almost a no hesitation. I believe that we both would be able to run average branches over the summer of 2014, and we do well, and maybe even better than well. And we'd aspire for more, of course, but we believe that we'd be best served running a branch together. Just like is shown in the pilot office in Rockville, we believe, like Amanda and Courtney are going to be working together, that we could also work together to create a more powerful branch. We'd have more startup together, and we'd be able to tackle a higher volume area, mid to high volume. Some examples we have are PG County and Howard County. It wouldn't really matter where we were placed, but we believe a mid to high volume area would be the best for us because we'd have more startup, and we'd be able to tackle twice the objectives as one person would.
And so those are some pros. We're going to cover some cons, and especially some of the stuff that came up to us. One of the first problems with this idea is that there could be conflict. We could fight about certain nitpicky things. And so we came up with that as a con. Also, in which there would be two co-managers. We would both need more startup. And then there would also be a higher pay percentage from the company. Obviously, you guys would be paying two people to be running a territory rather than one. And then also, it's never been done before, except maybe in the pilot office. A co-manager branch, to our knowledge, has never been done. Only one territory would be covered with two people. And so those are some of the obvious cons that we've come up with. With diving deep, there'll be more cons. And then Cecil's going to cover the pros that definitely, we believe, counteract this and make up for the difference. And we hope that you guys will see. But again, it is fully up to your decision.
In terms of the conflict is very much a possibility. Dean and I believe we work very well together, but of course when two people are working together in an office, there is the possibility of conflict. We came with ideas, conflict of interest, the way things need to be run. We may have a different way of running things or something of the sort. We'd have maybe a different ideology on how a presentation is done or how training should be done. And we also may, the money thing. Obviously, we might make less money if we don't do as well because it's splitting between two people. And maybe the conflict could be arisen that maybe one person works harder than the other. Maybe Dean works harder than me or I work harder than him. But we actually came up with a way. First of all, we've been working on the team together, and none of these have ever been a problem before. Now, running a branch will be a much different experience. But we believe maybe we could write up a contract where we'd both, write a contract saying we both put in 100% effort. Now, obviously, you'd have to write a contract anyway when you're opening up a branch, but we'd include it to be where we both do equal effort. And we both have very similar ideology. And the way we've learned through John is that we have to have a very similar interview to John, very similar training to John. And so it's not like our training is much different at all. We've actually come from the same tree per se. And so that covers a lot of conflict because conflict conflict really wouldn't be a problem, but we'd be able to incorporate a couple things into into a contract for having to allow for two people to be co-managers. Another thing, needing more startup, we'd be able to have more startup because we'd be two people putting startup towards it. And one last thing before I'll let Dean say something is the higher pay percentage. I believe the pay percentage was an average about 20 to 22% when an individual runs a branch, but we'd obviously be able to accept less of a percentage of the branch when we're working together. We weren't sure exactly what the numbers were. We were thinking, 12 to 15% each because we'd be able to have a higher volume.
And it doesn't matter because that stuff comes up later after the
proposal. We decide that later if this was accepted.
I think one of the biggest pros of this is that even though the company would need to pay two people in one area, we would be able to get the most out of a high-volume territory. One of the things Kate talked about was how in a high-volume territory there's going to be chaos. There's so many touches, especially like in Chipper Jones in Baltimore, that they don't even know what to do with it. When we have two managers, one can take care of recruiting, one can take care of advertising. One can be PDIing, one can be training. It makes it so our time is split up, and we'll be able to teach the reps more. We'll be able to get more out of each rep, and we'll be able to get more reps because there'll be more people working. And so the company will actually be able to make more money off of that high volume territory. One of the other things is, especially when it came to conflict, I know we addressed this, the company would be taking the two most competitive representatives and manager candidates in the Annapolis office and putting them on the same team. And that competitive nature would almost be teamed up and used against other offices so that we would be able to get most out of it. And so these are just some pros and some cons that we've put forward. There are obvious cons to two co-managers, but I feel with the situation that Cecil and I are in and that the division is in, that it's the best, in our opinion, it's the best idea for the company to go with this co-manager idea. But in the end, it is up to you guys. So.
That was a pretty good conclusion. There was just a couple more things I want to state. I believe it would be the best, but just in other words, just a couple of quick details. We'd have more time to spend teaching the representatives. One of us would be able to run interviews one day while the other advertised, like Dean was saying. But one of the big things I want to talk about was both of us have strengths and weaknesses, and we'd both be able to exploit our strengths, and we'd both be able
learn from each other.
Learn from each other, yeah, exactly. And if something, one of the other things real quick, if something happened to one of us, if we got into traffic one day and we weren't able to show up to training on time, the other one would be there. If something just crazy happened, one of us would be in the office if the other one wasn't be able to make it. Now, granted, that probably won't happen, but just in case that were to happen, one of us would be there for the other to help for any accident that would happen. And just on top of that, as one last note, if one of us hits the death zone during the branch summer, we'd be able to support each other through the entire thing. If one of us has trouble, we'd be able to support each other through the entire thing to make the best out of our summer, make the best out of the opportunity, and look forward to the future.
And just to conclude, thank you so much for taking the opportunity to watch this video and read our cover letter. We know decisions are coming quick about assistant manager and branch manager positions, and so we thought we would get this video done as quickly as possible, throw out some pros and cons, just to let Kate and John and anyone above, whoever it may concern, let them know that this is an idea we've come up with that we want to try and run with if it gets accepted.
We've thought through it a lot, and we've written down a lot of things. We didn't mention it all here. We don't want to keep you here all day. We want to be respectful of your time.
And so we look forward to talking to you guys in the future about this idea, and just thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Have a great day.